Good morning. I want to thank everybody for coming here today. This morning we are going to talk about Operation Memorial Days, which took place beginning the Tuesday after Memorial Day and ran through that Friday. Operation Memorial Days was a undercover operation from the Ohio Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. It's a multi-agency undercover operation. This 4-day sting led to the arrest of 22 individuals, including 3 sex offenders. The operation occurred in Newburgh Heights, and the intent was to engage in online activity where individuals, through their chatting on social media, believed they were about to have sexual relations with children in our community. This operation was a joint effort, and I'd like to thank our partners who worked together in one of the largest ICAC stings in both Ohio and the nation. Our partners included the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, the Newburgh Heights Police Department, Austintown Police Department, the Streetsboro Police Department, the Cleveland Police Department, the Solon Police Department, the Ohio Attorney General's Office, Bureau of Criminal Investigations, the U.S. Secret Service, and the U.S. Department of Justice. I would like the individuals behind me at this time to introduce themselves and the agencies with which they are from.
Hi, Steve Francis, Special Agent in charge of Homeland Security Investigations for Michigan and Ohio.
Jeff Casey, agent with Secret Service in Cleveland.
Jim Ciotti, Special Agent in charge of Ohio Criminal Investigations for this district.
Rick Bell, County Prosecutor's Office.
Carl Sullivan, County Prosecutor's Office, Internet Crimes Against Children.
Trevor Elkins, Mayor, Newburgh Heights.
John Majoy, Chief of Police, Newburgh Heights.
Dave Terry, Commander, Ohio Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force.
On these 4 days, 22 individuals were arrested, all without incident, and they have been indicted as of yesterday on charges of attempted unlawful sexual contact with a minor, importuning, and possession of criminal tool. Other charges include corrupting another with drugs, resisting arrest, attempted rape, disseminating material harmful to juveniles, and compelling prostitution. I would like to introduce Dave Fratteri, the Commander and Director of State Investigations for the Ohio ICAC, and he will tell you more about this undercover operation.
Thank you, Prosecutor O'Malley. All of the individuals that you see pictured here were arrested after engaging in sexually explicit online conversations with what they believe to be 12 to 15-year-old minor children using popular social media sites and mobile applications. During these conversations, several offenders sent explicit images of their genitals, some offered money for sexual activity, and some agreed to provide the children with drugs and alcohol. All of the offenders were provided an undercover address within the city of Newburgh Heights and traveled to this address on their own to meet these children. The task force seized 25 cellular devices, 18 personal vehicles, 10 condoms, 4 bottles of personal lubricant, 2 GPS units, 2 smartwatches, 3 knives, 3 USB drives, a laptop computer, a bicycle, and a plastic baggie containing suspected marijuana. Operation Memorial Days highlights the dangers of leaving children home alone and allowing them to be connected to the internet. The first offender was arrested an hour and a half after his initial contact with the child. Over the course of the 4-day operation, these 22 offenders were arrested at the rate of 1 every hour and 45 minutes, with 2 offenders arriving within 10 minutes of each other. 18 offenders drove personal vehicles, 1 offender drove a rental car, 1 offender was dropped off by a neighbor, 1 rode his bicycle, and 1 offender took an RTA bus and walked the remaining 15 minutes to the address. 3 of the offenders that you see here are registered sex offenders for crimes committed prior to this operation. 48-year-old Scott Turner, 30-year-old David Denard, and 39-year-old Nicholas Robinson, all residents of the city of Cleveland. Robinson was the final arrest of the operation and resisted arrest before he was apprehended after a brief foot chase. Operation Memorial Days would not have been a success without the assistance of the task force affiliated agencies that you see here today. The Ohio Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force is made up of 350 local, county, state, and federal criminal justice agencies with the common goal of identifying and prosecuting child exploitation offenders and protecting Ohio's children. As the commander of the Ohio ICAC Task Force, I am extremely proud of the efforts of our partner agencies who, without hesitation, stepped forward to take part in this operation. Since 2000, the Ohio Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force has arrested more than 1,300 individuals who traveled to engage in sexual activity with what they believed were minor children. At this time, I would like to introduce Special Agent in Charge Steve Francis with the Department of Homeland Security Investigations to say a few words.
Thank you, Commander. Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Steve Francis with Homeland Security Investigations. I'm a proud partner of the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force here in Ohio. I really want to thank the Prosecutor O'Malley and Chief Majoy for your efforts and all the rest of our partners. As you've heard, these are significant results. They're very disturbing, and we are a powerful collaboration of what's possible when you leverage our unique capabilities across state, local, and federal resources. Efforts to prevent crimes against children has been a priority for Homeland Security Investigations. We are part of 60 ICAC task forces around the country. These types of investigations will remain the highest priorities of our organization. The resources brought together through the ICAC ensures that individuals seeking to harm children will be brought to justice, regardless of whether it's state or federal courts. HSI will be a committed partner from today and throughout the future with the Ohio ICAC. Thank you very much.
At this time, I would like to introduce Newburgh Heights Chief of Police John Majoy.
Good morning. I just want to thank Prosecutor O'Malley and Commander Frater for the opportunity for us to be involved in this operation. We were contacted back in the fall of 2017 about setting up a sting house, and the Newburgh Heights Police Department is an active participant, and we support the mission of the ICAC. Through the efforts of the Village of Newburgh Heights, Mayor Elkins, myself, Detective Bittner, and several of our officers, we were able to collaborate with the ICAC team for a successful operation. It was our pleasure to work with these folks over the week. There was 73 felony arrests out of 22 individuals, which is a tremendous impact. And again, we were just happy to be a part of it. There was no injuries, there was no problems associated with it. It was a very smooth and successful operation, and that goes to the credit of the ICAC team in their preparation efforts. So again, we're happy to be involved in it, and we're proud of the impact that it has made on society to get these offenders off the streets. Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to introduce Carl Sullivan. Carl is the Director of State Prosecutions as far as the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. We'd like to answer some questions at this time. We'd also like to impress upon you, obviously, the importance of talking to your children, talking to grandchildren about the dangers of the Internet. This operation clearly brings forth several issues that need to be addressed with children. Among their use of social networking, among their use of internet websites, it's a good opportunity to talk about some of the dangers that exist out there. As we saw with this operation, these individuals wasted no time in communicating with what they believed to be minor children, and then taking that next step to come out and actually try to engage with these children in a real-world setting. Take some questions at this time.
I wasn't here at the very beginning. You may have done this, but if you don't mind indulging me, can someone just outline what we think is best? But again, how exactly this operated? In other words, how you did it?
So we essentially were provided with an undercover address in the city of Newburgh Heights, working directly with the city, working with the chief of police and his department. They furnished us with an apartment that was vacant, and we essentially set up in that apartment, acting as minor children on the internet, in an attempt to identify and arrest offenders when they came to the front door.
How did you said social media and stuff, and that's how you identify these people to go on? What apps and things like that?
Well, we have some ongoing investigations, so I'm not specifically going to talk about what specific apps or sites we utilized. We get a lot of our information from cyber tips and information that we receive from other agencies, and so our undercover officers will focus their efforts on those parts of the internet or those areas of the internet where we see most of the problems. If it's a popular social networking site, if it's a popular mobile application that allows children to interact with the remainder of the internet, you can probably bet we've done some work on it.
The 22 arrested, are they all facing the sex charges then? They could also be facing some other things as well, but they're all at least facing that?
Yes, as of yesterday, all 22 have been indicted by grand jury, and they're facing anywhere from felony 2 attempted rapes down to felony 5 possessing criminal tools. Currently, they've all been charged with sex offenses, so if convicted, they'd all have to register as Tier 2 sex offenders, which is for 25 years every 180 days.
What kind of sentence? I mean, it depends on the
Ye-
charges and all that stuff, but.
It just depends. Some of the felony 4s, I think most at least have a felony 4, which is 6 to 18 months in prison. On the importunings, which is the chatting with the alleged child, the presumption is prison on those charges, even though they're felonies of the 5th degree. Some are felonies of the 3rd degree. So, I mean, it could range anywhere from a maximum of 12 to 13 for one individual, like one of the prior sex offenders, to 3 years for some of the younger individuals with no criminal history.
So this has been going on for about a year, is that correct? You guys have been planning this for about a year, is that true?
8 to 12 months of planning, yes.
Did you guys get all the big fish that you thought you were going to get, or was this less or more? What do you
No, I think, you know, the fact that we arrested these 3 sex offenders obviously makes the operation a success right off the bat. However, you know, the 22, the largest that I'm aware of in the state of Ohio, we still have a lot of work to do. You know, we are constantly on the internet in an undercover capacity, constantly monitoring social networking sites and mobile applications. You know, but I'm as the commander of this task force, I'm certainly proud of the work that we did and the success that we had.
So the largest you're aware of in the state of Ohio?
Yes.
What are you talking about? Are you talking about sexting?
As far as going after those individuals who would attempt to engage in conversation with children and then travel to a physical location to attempt to meet those children.
Have you guys ever done anything like this, you know, inviting people to an undercover house and then arresting them there? Is that a tactic you've used before, or is this new?
We have not. It's a tactic that's been utilized in other parts of the country by other ICAC task forces, but this is something new for us in terms of Ohio.
It sounds kind of like, is it like the To Catch a Predator show?
Yeah, correct. And I don't want you, the term invite them to come over, I don't want to, you know, they were, you know, they definitely, most of the time reached out to us, and it was, you know, rules and regulations were followed on how we had to chat with these individuals. They were the ones that brought up what they intended to do with the child before they eventually traveled, or before we even gave the address. We wanted to make sure that they were serious about their intentions.
And we have worked with other affiliates throughout the state, Mahoning County Human Trafficking Task Force, through BCI, through Austintown. They've done a number of different stings of this nature in the past.
And this represents a lot of hard work on your part, but is it sadly the case that it's kind of easy to see this kind of traffic? I mean, when you throw the net out, do you get a lot of, is it so prevalent that it's kind of sad?
I think it is. I think if you spend any time on the internet, in some of these websites or these social networking sites, it's very easy for us to find offenders who are interested in engaging in sexual activity with children. And I think this operation speaks to that, the success of the operation, but how easy it was for these offenders to find the children that we were portraying.